Welcome back to the podcast. You guys are listening to 2.5 Mollies.
Yes, sir.
Another
yes,
day,
sir.
another video, another banger.
Yeah.
And today we got a special guest. He's an award-winning comedian.
Absolutely.
Juno Award for Comedy Album of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
He's also in his acting bag.
My acting bag.
He's a co-star on the hit show Ramy. That's honestly, he put us on to Ramy. One of our favorite shows right now.
Oh, wicked.
Serious. So if you guys didn't watch it, tune in.
Make sure to.
We'd like to welcome Dave Merheje.
Yeah, I do
Thanks
like
for joining us, bro.
being in the bag, the comedy or the
Acting
acting bag.
bag?
It just sounds cooler when it sounds cooler than saying like this guy's an actor.
This guy's an actor.
But being in his anytime you attach bag after anything, it just sounds cooler.
Bag
Just-
work.
Bag work.
Didn't hear. I've never heard that one. I like that. Like if I'm in my gym bag. No, that doesn't make sense. Sorry, that's a bad one. Workout bag, maybe. Yeah. And then the name 2.5. But what's the?
What do you think about it? So 2.5 men, 2.5 Mollies. What does that sound like to you?
So there's 2 Somali and then one that's not.
One
half
that's half Somali, half
Yeah.
Samoan.
I'm half Somali. Yeah.
Half Somali, half.
Samoan.
The Rock.
Oh, it does make sense. Yeah. Is that wrong to say? For some odd reason, when you said half Samoan, I'm like, holy, like the light opened up. Like, whoa. You could join the WWE now.
Yo, that's
Roman Reigns.
That's a funny point you brought that up.
That's
This guy
Roman.
he loves WWE.
No, I mean the Samoans are.
They're
What's
killing
the Jacob Fatu?
Jacob, oh, you watch WWE too?
Not watch it closely, but I just know like I mean as a kid I did, and I again it goes back to probably age the Raw era.
Oh,
It's like all
the Attitude Era.
Yeah, that was
DX.
like the NWO, that whole kind of thing. But I mean, now I try to pay attention if I can. But I do like the whole Roman Reigns, the whole Samoan.
The
Yeah.
bloodline.
Yes, but there's another guy that's not. I know Jacob, but there's a guy that's in another league. Not like it's another.
Not WWE, right?
What's another relative?
Zilla Fatu.
Yeah.
And he has dark hair.
Yeah.
He's related to Umaga. He used to be a WWE. His
Yeah.
son.
I know manga.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So his son is in a
doing it too?
different brand of like wrestling.
Yeah. AEW.
And yeah.
No,
not
I mean his
AEW.
brand, his promos are amazing.
Yeah.
Like you'll see
He's
his.
killing it.
Yeah.
You know you're Samoans, man. you know you're Samoans.
Tapped in. He's tapped
Yeah,
in.
you're tapped in. You're in your Samoan bag right now.
Well, I do remember the Rocks come up. It's like
Yeah.
so. I remember the Rock. Like I used to play, like at the in Windsor, Ontario, where I'm from. I'd go to the We'd go play soccer at the YMCA in the gym, like pickup soccer. It was like weird one of those where it's like we were 19 and you'd play with someone who's 19 and then someone who's 47. Like those. Yeah, the mix was weird. So then you're like, yo, this old dude just pushed me. Like it was like, I would race back home and watch Raw.
Yeah.
Like in my parents' room, like, and they were sleeping, and I would just sit because that's where the TV. I didn't have a TV, and we didn't have TV in our rooms.
Yeah, we had that one TV in the fountain.
It wasn't even in. It was in and it was tiny. And I remember I would watch Sports Center just to watch Raw. But I remember watching The Rock. Remember because The Rock was kind of the character before The Rock. Remember that?
Rocky Maivia.
Yeah, and they would boo him and stuff, and then he leaned in. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he leaned into being hated.
the bad guy, yeah.
And then he became like just the evolution of The Rock was that whole era was great, like Stone Cold.
Oh,
like
oh
it was
my
like,
God.
Stone
Oh my
Cold
God.
Jim,
When he came out with the beers, it was business.
oh dude,
It was-
or
it was
Jim.
this-
Remember Jim Ross? Was it Jim Ross? When Jim Ross would be like, "Oh God,
Oh my God, this motherfucker!
this
bastard, he's a bastard.
What would he say? Yeah, he would call him a bet, but he would be like, he goes, "Oh God, he decimated him." Like,
You know what it is? It elevated the quality of the wrestling.
Yo, if he was,
tenfold.
bro, he was the best announcer. I would say him, Jerry Lawler, Bobby Heenan was great. Gorilla. I mean, I would say I'd say Jim. Sorry, I've said Jeff, but Jim Ross is probably the best our best wrestling broadcaster.
live comment.
Oh,
How
dude,
about that?
he would come in and he'd be like, "Oh, he's gotta stop. You're a monster."
He's killing it right now.
He has kids.
He would always throw random things. He goes, "He has a wife at home. Stone Cold." And he would like beg the wrestlers. He goes, "Stone Cold, you're a sick monster." And then, that stuff was wild back then.
Absolutely.
But
You said you grew up in Windsor. I don't know. When I hear Windsor, I'm thinking trash. I'm thinking it's a small city.
Well, don't diss Windsor like that. Windsor's not that bad.
I'm just being honest.
no, it's funny
Stop
because
right for America.
no,
It's just a pit stop. It's like an en route.
Well, that's funny because there was I with the stand-up show I did tonight. There was a kid. He's I guess a kid. An audience member. He's like, I'm from Windsor. He came up to me after, and I think he was thinking of doing stand-up. Okay. And then we were talking about like how Windsor's trashed by people, but there's like a lot of like hidden gems because Windsor. There's pockets of Windsor that have been gentrified as well. So like neighborhoods or areas that I used to go to that were technically bad. Now they're like cafes and popular restaurants. But it is a city that like I understand why people would assume that it's trash and it's a stop to get to. But I think if you like live there and grew up there, and there are people who like, you know, when I go back home, they're like, I hate this place. But there are certain, I guess, like hidden gems. I don't know what it would be. Whereas like, it's like you go to like, if I go to Winnipeg and I go like, as an example, and I go, this place is trash. There's a local that might be like, let me show you around. Then you kind of see a couple things and you're like, it's not bad. But I mean, like, I understand being on the outside, having that perspective.
Yeah, I just thought, man, it was just.
No, there's some parts where even when I'm back home, I go, oh, this is a mess. Like even a person who grew up there, I'm like, oh, this is like. Yeah, it's like, but I don't know.
I'm just anti-Canada right now. I'm in my anti-Canada bag right now. You know what I mean?
He's in his Trump bag.
I'm in my Trump bag right now.
Why?
Yeah.
You don't like Canada anymore?
I don't like Canada. It's just I just feel like opportunities, like entertainment events, like it's not as jumping as America.
No, I mean I don't think
there's not much going on. I would say.
No, and I mean that's why I moved to America. Is because it does like there is a certain lacking in that department. Yeah. But I mean like. I understand too your frustration. I was frustrated at times. Trust me, you know what I mean. I started in Toronto, and my part of me, you know, I always wanted to go to America to explore it. Yeah. But as you know, if I wish I could like have like a viable like work here in Canada where I don't have to live in America, because like. At the end of the day, I feel like quality of life here is a bit better. Take out opportunity and finances.
That's debatable, though, isn't it?
Huh?
I think that's kind of debatable.
Like, yeah, I guess it could be debatable in the sense I haven't lived here in like for a while. But when you're like, I just feel like when you're in America, you're like, man, these people. Like not everyone, but you're like, whoa, like it's just a very like.
It is a shock.
Yeah, it's like, and it's so. I think that's what I mean by quality of life better. I guess I'm speaking from someone who hasn't lived here, but like on the other side.
That's true.
But I completely understand feeling of frustration with this country in the field of entertainment, and maybe other fields too. The work fields where they feel like there's just a better opportunity there. But again, it's stages, right? Like I've lived there now since 2016. So sometimes when I come back to like. You know, it was weird. I was in Portland watching a film, Maverick. Remember Maverick, the film? And I was by myself. This is like maybe 3-4 when the movie came out. And I just and look, maybe this just is me. So I don't want to say this is all Canadians. I just kind of looked around and I'm like, dude, what if somebody came in here and shot up the place? And I'm like, wait, why am I thinking like that? I was like, I don't want to live somewhere where I have to go. You're right, and I kept looking at the door, not joking aside, like till the movie started.
Really?
Because it just at that time.
Movie theaters, people getting shot.
Oh, everyone's getting blasted there in a movie theater. At that time, there was like 4 stories where somebody walked in and shot somebody. That's crazy, and I just feel like, again, when I'm in Canada, I don't have those kind of like feelings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Canada's good there. I'll give you that.
Yeah, it's
funny you brought that up. Me and this guy were in America one time. We're at a shooting range. Like, I don't know, in Canada, the shooting ranges are really like strict, you know? Like there's an instructor behind you, they're teaching you how to shoot and everything. Over there, they just gave us an AR and said, figure it out. Go inside, figure it out. And then I'm in there looking behind him, like, what if this guy just turns and shoots me?
And I just had like that feeling like, whoa, I can just pick this up and shoot someone.
Yeah.
And then that feeling was powerful though. I will be honest with you.
Yeah, no, I mean that I think you know, the gun ranges there. I've never really been to one, but like I have friends that go, and it is like that because I mean it's in their culture. It feels guns are in their culture more, and it's kind of like it is funny now because you know, and I don't mean to be like not to bring the moment down or anything like that, but just in general when you hear Americans go. Because I have like a lot of American friends, I'm pretty sure you guys do too. When they go jokingly, they go, "Oh, you know, Canada, the 51 state." But part of me feels like I know they're joking, but there's a part of me that feels like, "Hey, man, don't talk that way." Because that I haven't felt in like a long time. Like now I'm gonna physically do anything to them, but I'm like, the disrespect of our country has got to stop.
At a point.
At a certain point.
At a point, it's got to stop.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, because like I feel like, and look, I've had this argument with American friends for like the longest time. Well, if you like Canada so much, why are you over here?
That's true.
Right? You can, but it's like I think you're seeing now, because you're seeing now Canada go, bro, you ain't gonna push us no more.
Yeah.
I like that.
From
I
like
that.
from like all levels, and I think it's because we since we're not I mean, just when you're a kid, because you see that the market isn't strong here for things, so you get this affection for America when you're younger, and you go, because the grass is greener on the other side, that I think sometimes we lose our pride for our country because of the frustrations we have with, like, there's not an industry here, and I think you're seeing it now.
I was just joking about that. By the
No,
way.
I'm not saying this because of that. I'm like,
Yeah.
I've thought about this before, even the podcast,
Yeah.
because I'm over there, and then like, even I was doing a podcast in LA, and one of the co-hosts was jokingly being like, "Oh, you from Canada, 51?" But do you know what I mean? But
Deep
it's
down,
like
they believe it too.
they 100% believe it.
That's
They 100%, because their knowledge of our country is like sad. They have no knowledge of, and they go like this. They go, "Why do I got to learn about your provinces?" And I'm like, "Well, I learned about your states.
That's true.
Why did I learn about, like, how do I know where Iowa is?"
Yeah.
And you don't even know where, like, Calgary. It's not even like we're asking them to know where, like, Red Deer is.
Yeah.
They're
Just
like,
they don't even know the capital city. Ottawa.
Yeah.
The guy,
No.
one guy keeps saying I'm from Edmonton. I'm like, Ottawa, bro.
Ottawa,
It's
brother.
Ottawa, bro. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, for example, like going into Windsor, right? Like, talk to us about growing up there. You're coming from, like, from my understanding, Windsor has like a lot of white people, but there's also a strong like Arab descent.
huge.
as well.
Yeah. A lot of Lebanese.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was young, there's a lot of, like, our families, our cousins but like there was a lot of Lebanese families. There still is, and our mayor at one point was Lebanese. So that felt like,
No way.
yeah.
Wow.
He was like that. There was, like, bakeries. So there's a street called Wyandotte where it's predominantly like barbers, stores, grocery stores. You can go get, like, traditional meals. And that was beautiful because I wasn't born in Lebanon. My parents were, so I always had that around when I was a kid. Yeah, and they have the Carousel of Nations. So you had the Lebanese one was popping. The Lebanese one used to be next to the Italian one, and they would always bump heads. I remember a couple of times, like, the older guys would come over and be like, "Hey, guys, stop," because somebody would walk over to the Italian one, start a fight. And then those Italian guys would come over to, like, it was like a trap. And then the older heads, they would be like, "I'm me." Like, they would say, "Stop, please, man." Like, call the kids reckless. Call us, man. Call us. And they would just yell at us. But it was, there was a Greek one. I just went to them in last summer. There's a Jamaican one. So it's like there is, as much as there is white people there is, like, a lot of cultures. Like a lot of Italian, Lebanese, Greek. And so I always had that culture around when I was a kid.
That's amazing.
Until, like, I think I left in my mid-20s to Toronto.
Okay.
But it's like growing up there, you're a kid and you see, like, it was like a lot of, like, fights. That's what the era was in. A lot of, like, you beat up this guy, 50 guys are going to come after this guy. There was always, I knew a Lebanese guy, I think once he was like, I'm like, "Oh, you got issues with that guy?" He goes, "Nah, man." And he took time off work. I think he called in sick. From what I remember, I think he called in sick to his job to jump in the fight. Because one Lebanese guy got beat up, so it was like 70 showed up.
Yeah, but that's what that's real men though. Like, they're trying to throw hands. They're gonna take.
There were a lot of throwing hands back
love
then.
that. I love
I
that.
didn't throw much hands myself because once I got glasses, I was like, I don't think fighting is for me, dude.
I don't want to pay for
Yeah,
nothing.
I don't want to pay. I try to tell people, I'm like, dude, if you knock my glasses off my head,
paying
that's
for that.
$300.
You're paid for that.
Yeah, and I can't see, so that's like 4 days of not seeing. Then I gotta get I'm like, yo, there's no beef here, bro. It's like it's shut down pretty quick. But I was around a lot of fights, a lot of, like, I don't know, but there is a lot of culture.
That's nice. Yeah.
So it's not predominantly super, super white, but there is white.
So for a lot of people who might not necessarily know you, Colin mentioned that you're a comedian, right?
Yeah.
So early on, like, let's just say, for example, when you were really young or teenage years, like, at what point did you start realizing that comedy or acting was something that you were going to pursue?
I mean, I think I think when I was 14, I wanted to. I think my uncle showed us like comedy tapes. So back then it was like VHS tapes, and which I don't know if he was supposed to, because he showed us Andrew Dice Clay and Eddie Murphy's Delirious.
Oh my!
Yeah.
Classic.
That's my favorite.
And Richard Pryor, a lot of Richard Pryor and George Carlin. I gravitated a lot to Richard Pryor. I understood Eddie Murphy and the impact Delirious was, but for me, for some odd reason, I was super drawn to Richard Pryor. Yeah. I don't know completely why. I just thought his vulnerability. Like when I would watch Richard's specials, I would see a vulnerability, like he was on, like, and he would tell wild stories, and it felt like he left everything up there. It felt like almost like music as opposed to comedy. It felt like a Nas album. That's how I thought Richard Pryor was, like that, like a 50 Cent Get Rich or Die Trying. Not that Eddie wasn't that by any means, but it just, for me, Richard was like. But like Eddie's was like rock star. That was like watching
like entertainment to
it was like it wasn't just a stand up. It was like this like, oh wow, man, yeah, like it was rock. It was like amplified. And I think from there, I don't know, I remember making like my friends laugh, and I was like, oh, I feel like, being funny is fun. And then I remember making fun of like my mom and everyone. I would make.
You made fun of your mom?
No, I made fun of I think I made fun of her sister, and she laughed. My mom laughed, and I was like, oh, that was like, it was like an endorphin. I was like, oh, my mom's smiling. This is great. Like it seems funny. And then I just kind of. I didn't really know what stand-up was, and I just remember telling a friend at the time when I was 14, I'm like, dude, I think I want to do stand-up. Yeah. And I don't think he...
So I have a question, like, how did your parents take that? Because we all come from an ethnic background, right? So if you're not a doctor or engineer, you failed.
In life.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For most parents. So what I'm saying is, like, I don't know how your parents were, but how did your parents kind of, like, when you said, I want to pursue this head on, like, how did they take that?
I think I got very lucky, man, because my parents... weren't like that. Okay. They're still not. My mom and dad come to all my shows. My brothers, my cousins. My mom will buy. Like my mom will. I'll talk about like maybe like some explicit things, and my mom's there. Yeah. She only has an issue if I made fun of God. Okay. And then I think one time I talked about her brother. Like in he had an addiction to
Her sister's okay, but her brother's not, huh?
Is what?
Her sister is okay, but her brother's off limits.
Oh no, because her brother is a recovering like heroin addict. Oh, okay. So I would do jokes when because he lived with my grandmother, so I would see it. So I would make jokes, and I think one time she was just like, which is understandable. It's her brother. Yeah, and I get it, but I mean for the most part, and my dad loves it. My dad loves being talked about. So my family, like my brothers show up. It's like our like 15, 20 deep sometimes. Really? Wow. Yeah, they're always there. Amazing. They'll get mad if I don't invite them now. Like if I do a show and they go, and my sister's like, yo, you didn't tell us. Like they're more like, so they make it an event. That's amazing. Like they're always like, the kids now, my sister has 4 kids. So there was one show I did where 3 of them came. So they got to see this. So they've seen me do stand up since they were young. Wow. To the point where like I make jokes about them now, and that some of them have aired on Just for Laughs. Remember that you do those Just for Laughs?
Yeah.
And then I had one of my nieces, Mia, she goes, man, you don't make fun of me. How come I'm not in any of your jokes? So I'm like, oh, that's how old I am too. But I think they never had a problem. I mean, my mom, when I was in high school, she's like, or college, she goes, Dave, you can do stand up, and I support it. But can you get me an education? So then I got like a marketing diploma. But that's about it. So I got a diploma at St. Clair College in Windsor, and then like did stand up, and they all been so. I understand that though. I have a lot of friends, ethnic comedic friends that. Have to deal with that.
It's a bit taboo,
Yeah. And that I don't know that frustration or pain, and I can only imagine that it probably sucks. It does, because you're not getting that support system. So I do feel ultimately always blessed that like I don't have to like they're there for me in that this aspect.
That's nice, bro.
So you were kind of speaking about your mother, like, you know what I mean, being at the comedy shows that you were at. For a lot of comedians, a lot of times they pride themselves on being authentic, right? And really telling a story about who they truly are or like what's going on in their life. Talk about your first experience having your mom at your comedy show and just saying something out of pocket and just thinking, why did I say that? Yeah.
I think I said something about like something sexual. I can't remember what it was. It might have been about between my mom and my dad. And I thought like, I was like, oh, this is wild. But then again, after she comes up and she goes, that was funny, man. Wow. Yeah, she's like very like they're very like I don't know. Like I did a special that's on Crave like I think 2-3 years ago. It's called I Love You Habibi, and I wanted to get my mom. I wanted to have a voice, you know, like because I was like kind of really inspired by Kendrick Lamar's "Good Kid, Mad City," and there's like there's a voice note. It feels like I don't know if that's his mom talking. It was "You're Dying of Thirst," that like 12-minute song. So I just had this idea if I had my mom on a voice record, that's how the special would open, and she would just be telling me like, you know, because she would say that when I would go over to Detroit to do like open mics because I started in Windsor, she'd be like, "Habibi, make sure you eat." So that was like the voice note, and then it starts. But I had this idea where I would have, I would do my act, but it was spliced in would be interviews from my family. Okay. It would cut to my family members, and they can talk about the joke that I'm saying. So they get a chance, and you know that's like, you know, most families might be like, I don't want our personal business out there, and they were all like, I'm like, guys, this is gonna be streamed on Crave. And Crave is like the, you know, the streaming service they have in Canada. It's like a Netflix almost. Yeah. And they were like, we're fine. I go, okay. And then, you know, the production company came to my sister's house. They filmed everyone. But there's a part where they asked my mom, because it was my mom and my dad, about like this, about material. Yeah. And I'm paraphrasing, but it was very liberating. It was very liberating because she was like, look, I know what my son, these are jokes, you know, and she's like, she's not in the business. Yeah. So she's like, I know they're jokes. Yeah. I know he's doing what he has to do. So I think having that understanding allows me to have comfort, and I never had to worry about her getting mad. And I don't think that's like every parent. Yeah. So I was very blessed in that manner.
Bro. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah. I'd get kicked out of the house if you heard that.
Yeah, there's like a story, dude. It's like I used to do a joke where my dad, I was older at this point. My dad would watch when my mom would leave. My two brothers were there. They were young. He'd watch porn when she'd leave, but he'd watch it on. He'd always get caught because one, he'd watch it with the audio, which is crazy. Right? Who watches with the volume up? But she would catch him. He would
get the whole experience.
Bro, he would fall asleep with his legs like this. So we were like to the end. So my mom would come home from going to her friend's house. She goes, she goes, John, what are you doing? And he'd wake up and he'd go, it's not me. And it's the two sons, your sons. Yeah. So my brothers were getting blamed for this. Like, so this is a very story that's known in our family. So I did the joke on the special, but then it cut to my family. So it cut to my sister. She goes, yeah, that happened. Yeah. My two brothers are like, yeah, that happened.
It was like The Office kind of vibe.
Oh, yeah, same thing. And then it cut to my mom and my dad are on the same screen, right? Yeah. And my mom goes, yeah, he would do it. And then it's a pause. And then my dad would go, yeah, I did. But that's like the first time I think he admitted it. But he admitted it on a special. Yeah, on camera. Like so it was that kind of like openness that allowed like me to have bits like that. And then being because other families might be too embarrassed. That's like an embarrassing thing for your dad to have admitted to, but I think he just loves. I don't know. He just loves. It's funny. He loves being talked about.
Yeah, do you think he loves getting caught too?
No, I don't think he loved that part, dude. He hated that part. Dude, we're still like, why are you watching to the end? I was like, I don't even watch porn, bro. But I'm like, I'd never watch it to the end. That's a long time, dude. So he's like, but he's also one of the funniest non-comedians I've ever met in my life. Yeah. Like, I think his whole being is hilarious. He's like to me, he's like an Arab Larry David. Oh, like he does things where. So I don't know what, half the times he does, like, one day he came out to me, he's like, Dave, no, when I was getting my green card, my mom called me, she goes, you think your dad messed up? I go, what do you mean? He goes, your dad has a middle name. I go, he has a middle name? So I guess, because when you do the green card, you have to submit your family's names. Yeah. And so I see him in Windsor. I go, Bob, you have a middle name? He goes, oh yeah, come here, let me show you. And he showed me this ID that looked beat up. And I'm like, yeah, I was like, his middle name I think was his dad's name. But it's weird, he never told us when we were kids or when we were grown. So it's like that kind of like, I think, humor that also helped me, be able to get material.
Dave, you talked about one of your highlights in your career where you got to have your family on a Crave special. Yeah. Must have felt amazing. But let's talk about the lowlights. Like, what was like your worst bomb in a show? You felt bad. You're like, yo, I'm never gonna do this again.
I mean, I don't know if I bombed a lot starting. So there was I didn't think I was gonna stop, but I remember. I don't even think it was like a real show. It was like like an open mic almost. But I think I got there and there was like, I think it was just a bartender. and maybe someone else. And then the bartender, I think he made me go on. Not made me, but like he was like, I'm like, dude, there's no one here. He goes, I'm here. And I'm like, and he's cleaning glasses. I go, this is going to be bad. So I went on stage and I did my act to him cleaning glasses. But there was like candles on the tables. And I just thought personally, like the candles started to go out. So then I'm like, dude, I'm bombing so bad that these candles I'm bombing in front of candles. And then he watched. I did 7 minutes to this man, this bartender. And I was like, yeah, this is awful. Yeah. Like, but I didn't think about quitting because I think at that point I bombed a bunch, like just in general. And I think like that you just become more equipped emotionally. Like there was one where I don't really feel bad, but it was in Thunder Bay. There was like 200 people there. And I had, you know, you do crowd work. So I'm talking to this guy and it was a French guy, but we were both bombing together. So me and the crowd guy were bombing. And I think at one point I said, bro, we have to stop. We're not getting anything out of this. I messed up. You're not good. And this woman, like, at one point in the show, she, like, does yoga. And she's, like, I think she's from the crowd. She's like, do you want to, I can come up and hug you. And I'm like, that's weird. No.
That's when you know you lost.
Yeah, I lost big time. And I think this is, like, so 5 minutes before I'm supposed to finish the show, this man he wasn't laughing the whole show, but he started screaming at the top of his lungs. So imagine 200 people, it's quiet. And then this guy goes, for the love of God, please tell a joke. He kept screaming that on repeat. Look, tell a joke. And then it got really quiet, and I said, hey, man, look, I'm going to be honest with you. I've been doing this for a while. I go, this doesn't hurt me emotionally, but I do have a story now I'm going to tell other people. Yeah. But I will tell you a joke. Yeah. And I did, and it bombed like so badly. And then he left, and then it was so weird. It was like the whole crowd was like, wow, they were like, that was odd. It was very odd. It was like a crime happened, but not like a physical crime. And then the booker, I remember I was sitting down and she hugged me from behind and she goes, that was fine. And I think that was even weirder than whatever happened because it was like, cause she hugged me from behind. It's so creepy, dude. And I was sitting down. I'm like, nah, just leave me alone. I'd rather bomb. I'm fine bombing. But yeah, I think I didn't think about quitting, but it happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. At what point in like your comedy career did you feel like you made it? Khalid mentioned about the Juno. That's something that I seen even your acceptance speech. That was something that I watched myself. And I noticed, were you actually getting emotional like at that time?
Yeah, because I kind of thought like, you know, in the Toronto comedy scene that maybe like, you know, they didn't, you know, I mean, I was probably projecting, but they didn't think I would win. So I think, you know, I wanted to. And then my dad came. My dad was in London, Ontario, and he came the weekend. And I think when I won, I got to him after, and he was like crying a bit. And I don't really see him cry that much. So it was pretty, I think just having him there, seeing that was beautiful. I think for me is him, and I think the whole weekend, like we were eating McDonald's in the hotel room, which is pretty crazy. I don't know why it was weird seeing your dad eat McDonald's, like a Big Mac. It doesn't make sense, yo. Your brain's like, dude, you're supposed to be eating healthy. You're like the leader. So I think it was like having him, you know, hang out with my friends. Like we took him to a, you know, is it Chromeo? You know that group? I think they were DJing. He went to a bar and hung out, and he's like at that time maybe like 70 something, late 70s. And then I remember being like, Bob, man, do you need to go home? Are you tired? And he just kept like not pushing me away, yeah, he's like, hey, watch young buck. I used to like be out here. That's what I felt like his energy was. Yeah. But you know, it's like, you know, I'm like, hey man, don't be out here. Like you're still protecting your mom. Yeah. Like you're watching him like a hawk. You're like, hey, you're still, you know, you're married to my mother, dog. Don't be too foul out here. So I think having him there and just winning was like such a crazy. And it's a Juno, like as much as, you know, they didn't have the comedy program or the comedy section award was absent for 30 years, which is crazy. It just came back. Yeah. So, I mean, that's just crazy. Like we should support and have live comedy because we have so many comedians making albums. So I think that was a highlight for sure.
Mm-hmm. So you talked a little bit about living in America and the comedy scene out there. Like it's something that we're well acquainted with. You talked about some of your inspirations, which like for the most part, from what I did hear, a lot of them are American. So kind of talk about the Canadian comedy scene and what your opinions on there. Like, do you see it on a rise right now? Like, how was it coming up, and how is it? Do you feel like right now?
I think now it's like there's more accessibility to social media, so you can like excel, without like a system, almost like a gatekeepers, I guess. Like you can create your own audience and yours, and I think that's great for comedians because they don't have to wait around. So I think you can build your own audience, build your own base. Like, but I do think Canadians, are one of the funniest people. I mean, not just because I'm Canadian and I came up with them, but there's a lot of people that like, I look at as inspiration. Arthur Simeon, Nathan McIntosh. There's just like a lot of them. Some of them are in the U.S. and some of them still live in Canada. Like Nick Reynolds, and these are like people that like are just like really, really, like Kenny Robinson, who has his Nubian Night that happens in Toronto. It's been going on for so long, and he's given a lot of people like such a platform, and you can see people excelling from that. So I think we do have like some of the best comedians, that are going right now. I think personally.
So you said you started off in Toronto. No, you started in Windsor, right?
Yeah.
And then you went to Toronto.
Toronto for like 10 years.
Tell us a little bit about the timeline. Like, how did you start, and then when did you get to America? And how was that?
Well, I thought you had to just do like a couple of comedy sets and you'll be famous. That's how young I was. I'm like, I'll just do a couple of shows in Windsor. Somebody will see me and I'll be on like a talk show. That doesn't work that way. So I think I wasn't even gonna go to Toronto. I didn't even know how to get a green card. I thought you could just show up to America.
Oh, America.
Like I thought you show up to America and you pay like $50. Like I had no knowledge, and I'm like, I'll be American. And then someone explained to me what it took. So, but then a comedian I knew, a well-known comedian, Jason Rouse, he was like, you should move to Toronto. I think it was him or some like couple people. Him specifically, and I was like, oh, okay. And then I went to visit a friend, and I think I saw Russell Peters at Yuck Yucks, and it was like live in there, bro. I still remember it. The energy in there was insane. And I think that weekend inspired me, and then I moved to Toronto. But that wasn't where I was gonna go. And then like I really like, was in that scene for 10 years. Like and built my act and built most of like my experience from there, and it changed over time because again technology changed, and it was more like we had MySpace, you know what I mean? Like we didn't even know how to work that. It was 5 dudes around a computer. You're like, what? We put our you can post it. It was now it seems nothing, but back then you're like, what? You just didn't know. So I think it was different variables compared to what has, but I don't regret any of it. I mean, it was just such a fun time to run around and do shows in Toronto, and like, because I think not that it isn't now, but I think back then we were just trying to be I always just was trying to be the best comedian first in that city. Like if I was better than anyone else, I know comedy's subjective, but I just wanted to be the best comic in Canada, period. Like, and
when it comes to like doing comedy, I know like the room matters. So do you feel like when you're dealing with a majority white audience, when you're dealing with a black crowd, when you're dealing with the Arab crowd,
how do you maneuver that?
Like, what's your best crowd moments? Like, do you feel like there's some crowds that just don't work out for you?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes, There's a lot of times, even if you're in like a big city and the crowd isn't vibing with you, and it's just like you got to take the L. They're just not connecting. I mean, that happens. And I know from early on when I don't connect, and again, it's like sports. It's like this wasn't the night for me. This crowd wasn't the night for me. But different cultures, you learn about how to play to them. But I mean, it's Canada, so a lot of times I spent playing in front of white audiences. And that's what I think sometimes white comics don't understand, maybe, in a sense that a lot of times, you're traveling through Canada and you are playing to this crowd that doesn't understand your culture. And the trick is to try to get them. You're speaking about your Lebanese family in a place like Brockville. Like, you know what I mean? It's not always going to hit. So it's like something you got to work on. And I've worked on all those. And basically now what I try to do is like I want to just try to get my comedy to a point that every culture can connect, where I don't have to really worry about any niche kind of thing.
Can you tell us a little bit about that rock star life, the tour life, baddies, after night, all that?
I mean, there's no baddies anymore.
Oh my god.
There's a lot of like what is it called? Claritin, for allergies. There's a lot of Pepto-Bismol. A lot of like
early nights, huh?
Not even early nights, just stomach cramps. A lot of, and then like the road. Yeah, it is fun. I mean, when you connect with like friends of yours and stuff like that, but it's not as much. I mean, as I got older, I have to like take care of my body. I feel more.
That's true.
Trust me, I turned up like
Nonstop,
a lot of times, but I feel now I'm like it's I if I want to continue living the rest of my life,
Has there ever been like times like I always hear like comedians, they always like ripping in the back, like you see like Dave Chappelle just comes, starts roasting everybody.
Roast session, just
like,
everyone.
did you ever like experience that?
like where like a well-known comedian made fun of me.
Like
No,
come in
like
the
comedians
back, or,
coming
like,
in the back, just roasting each other.
chilling.
Oh yeah, all the time. I mean, I think comedians naturally, I make fun of each other because it's like it's. I mean, maybe men, that's how they show love as well in general. Like dudes will never like like emotionally they don't know. If my homie comes through and I'm not gonna be like, hey man, I love you. It's more, I will now, but I'm saying is like we make fun of each other as the it's twisted. It's like if I make fun of this guy in the most meanest way, that's how I show I care, which is like psychotic. It's like, how do I insult him to the point where he goes home and cries, or he calls one of his parents and he's having a meltdown? That's like a victory, you know what I mean? Like,
But I love you too at the same time, you know?
I remember I was like, I gained a little bit of weight last year, and I went to a wedding or a friend of mine was getting married, and I got dissed, like, but that's what you do. You just you're gonna take that opportunity because we're comedians, so you will. There is roasting moments, but it's fun. It's never in a sense where you're like trying to be super harmful. It's like that's how we like it's, and also it works your muscle. If I can, we're working our comedic muscle.
On another note, from what I've seen, there's 2 big roles. The first one obviously was Ramy.
Yeah.
And there was a movie. It slipped my mind right now.
Oh, sometimes I think about that.
There
yeah.
we go. Right, I was watching that last night. First of all, it was a great movie.
Oh, thank you.
Number one, talk about your experience. How did you get into acting?
I always wanted to act.
Okay.
When I was like starting comedy, I'm like, because I was like really influenced by people like Chris Tucker or Martin Lawrence.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because they did comedy and then they acted. That's who I was inspired by. So I always knew I was wanted to try acting. And I think getting into it, I mean, I think I did MTV Live in Canada. That was kind of like, they did sketches, so I thought I was in it there. And then it wasn't until Mr. D, which a Canadian show, that helped me. I never been on a sitcom, and that was the first time I think I did 2 seasons as a guest role, and that gave me like confidence and experience.
That's not a bad show, Mr. D.
No, it's very, very funny. Jerry's really, really funny. And I learned, I didn't know how to do some of the like I remember one time I was doing a scene and then I didn't understand when you switch cameras. I started doing the next scene and the actor was confused because he's like, this is not the same lines. And they said cut, and the director came over and pulled me to the side. He goes, oh, we just switched, we just doing coverage. We're still on that scene. And I learned. I mean, I owe that show a lot because it taught me certain things that helped me when I got to Ramy. And then Ramy as well gave me the experience to do the movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yo, is there anything in acting when you before you joined acting? Is there anything where you're like, wow, I wasn't expecting it to be like this?
I think sometimes like getting in the the waiting around too, because you're doing you're not, sometimes you're waiting around for like 4 hours or 5 hours, and then also like trying to drop certain emotions might be a little bit sometimes it's like, oh, I have to go to this place maybe to get this emotion out.
I'm not gonna lie to you, when I watched Ramy, I totally believed your role. Like I could see you working as a doctor.
I appreciate that.
That.
I mean, I would tell Ramy, please don't put big doctor words in there, because I was like, and he would laugh, I guess, because it was like, I was just, some of the doctor words. That's obviously how I'm not a doctor when I say doctor words. That's not how it is. But I mean, like, yeah, that's the job I guess I wanted to do, is that it's believable. But I also look like I could look like a doctor, the glasses, bald head. Like, it's not like, dude, you see and you're like, oh, this guy for sure could be a doctor, accountant, or a marketer. Like I couldn't, I wouldn't be a warrior. No one's gonna believe me as like a gladiator. Like Russell Crowe, like, is that his name? Like no one's gonna. If I came out in that round in Rome, people would be like, he's dying. Lion comes out, dude. If the lion came out even before, I'd faint. Like where it's in the cage, I'd be like, no, I'm out. So there are some roles you just look that person.
But on that note, a big question that I have to ask you is, is there any new projects, whether it's comedy specials, whether it's other shows that maybe you might be hopping into? Is there anything that you could kind of give to us as an exclusive, 2.5 Miles exclusive?
Oh, I recorded like a special for our, not when I say for ourselves, we did it, me and a production company that I work with. We shot it in Cotton, the clothing store, KOTN.
yeah.
So we shot it in Toronto, like in November, and it's like what I'm doing with it is like I wanted to do something a little. I don't know fully if it's gonna be executed properly yet, but I mean we shot it in that space where there was like 40 seats. It was very tight knit in the clothing store, and I thought that was like it's like stylistically I wanted to do something different than being on like a comedy club.
Okay.
So hopefully that it'll come out this year.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully, inshallah, it will come out maybe in the summer or in the fall. But that one we like. The idea of it was to do something like like Nas's Lost Tapes. It was like this material that I had that I didn't know where to fit in, and I was just gonna put it together. But then it changed into, as when I did it that night, it changed. If that makes sense. Like when I was up there, I was like, oh no, we could like this has a different outcome than I thought. So I think that, and I just excited about how they shot it and how it's gonna look and what we're trying to do with it. I think that's the next thing that was gonna come out.
So there's a show called Ramy. There's a show called Mo. Is there going to be a spin-off with just your character or what?
I don't know about that, but I mean, I'm trying to.
We're going to be the extras. We're gonna be the extras.
You gotta get us on there.
I will. But I think I'm trying to create something. It's like at its early stages where it's like a vehicle for myself, but not like anything that's close to my life. Like, you know what I mean? It's not about my life or anything. It's just more of a fictitious family. Nice. But it's like in the not realm, but like, it'll touch on the Lebanese culture. Nice. So I'm hopefully, I can see that come to fruition.
Absolutely.
And then I can get you guys in.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah. We're gonna need some intimacy training. You know what I mean? A lot of it, please.
We'll see how it's.
Here at 2.5 Mollies, we have a special segment. Khali, you want to kind of introduce it?
Yeah. So we have a segment called Phone a Molly. So people just call in anonymously, leave voicemails of their dilemmas, wild stories. And
really?
They try to get a take from us, basically.
So people have called your cell phone?
So we have like this link where they call in or send any messages, and they just give us their dilemmas, and we try to help them out.
So you have not heard them yet?
This is the ones we've never heard yet. Yeah. So we're going to play it for you, and we're going to let you take the first crack at it, too.
Has anyone called and said, hey, you owe me money? So I have to voice.
From this guy right over here, you probably got a couple
we get less to better for us. Just block those ones.
Salam alaikum, 2.5 Molly brothers, man. Long time listener, man. It feels good to finally get my voice heard with y'all, man. So pretty much I'm going to get right into my dilemma since I got 90 seconds. So around November last year, mid-November, November 18th to be exact, alhamdulillah, Allah blessed me and I got married to my Muslima. And 2 weeks later, we had gone on our honeymoon. And pretty much that was the first time I've seen her whole. I seen her without a hijab and whatnot. And let's just say I was expecting a 30-inch bust down, but her braids ain't had no hang time, brother. And I ain't trying to disrespect her too much, or at all, but I was not feeling her, man. And she was trying to approach me in a few ways and methods, but it just wasn't the same, She could tell I wasn't feeling her. And that's just honestly my dilemma. I don't know how to work around her, man. She's bald headed, y'all. And man, I just need y'all help, man. Wow, tell me what I should do.
Very tough position.
That's rough,
you know what I mean? And Dave, our resident bald person, what's your take on that?
One, I knew that this voicemail was heavy. Just the way his breathing at the beginning, I go, this is bad.
He's a heavy guy.
Oh, just the way it started was already heavy. Where he goes, guy. It felt like it was gonna be a long journey.
Yeah.
But I also don't when he said she approached me with different methods. Is he talking like intimacy?
sexual, yeah.
Oh, sexual. I never heard anyone say approach me with different methods. I'm like, what do you?
He's talking about? She tried to put on a weave.
Oh,
or something.
okay. Because I was like,
because she doesn't have a lot of hair, you know. And
that's what happened. So I'm
That's
not.
what happened, yeah.
I'm a little unfamiliar. Bald headed meaning like she had her
She
hair.
has like
No
so
hair.
basically he saw her like from my understanding
Level
he
2.
saw her with no hijab for her first time,
first time.
and she has low like my hair, and he likes girls with long hair.
Yeah.
And then he married her, so he's like, yo, what do I do?
And he's not getting aroused.
Yeah.
He's in a bad dilemma.
Yeah.
This is not even like this dilemma has to move past the voicemail to a therapist, like maybe couples marriage therapy, because he couldn't see it before, right? Because that's like not
'Cause it's
condoned.
not allowed, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a tough one, man. I mean, I don't honestly. I mean, the only advice. I mean, you could try other. I don't know what other methods you
Try to
could
put
try.
yourself in his shoes. What methods would you try to kind of get that spice back? You know what I mean?
Oh, that's a tough one. I might use, I guess, Viagra. Because I've used Viagra once. I don't think you need to, bald head or not. You're
You're good to go.
Dude, if you give a Viagra and you run into a room, you're like, yo, it doesn't.
You're going through the wall.
Bro, her hair could be on fire. You're just like, I don't really care.
Yo,
But
is it addictive?
I felt that night I felt I was gonna put him in the toilet and flush him, like it was cocaine or something like that. I was like, I was like, I've only done it twice.
Yeah.
Twice only.
Yeah, because it was that crazy.
Wow.
It
Yeah,
was a Superman drug.
You have to shelf it.
dude, I felt like I was DMX when he put those first 2 albums out.
Just yelling all day. Eh?
Yeah, no, just the energy. Like I think I ran like that. I was on top of the billboard. Like that's how much I was like, oh, dude, I'm DMX out here. But
It's like one of the, have you ever, like with Spider-Man, I believe it's Spider-Man 2, you know when he drops off the Spider-Man suit in the garbage?
Yeah.
When you've seen the Viagra, you just said, yo, you know what, there's too much power.
no,
in this.
too. It was exactly, exactly.
So going back to comedy, right? Have you ever had an experience where you're up on stage and someone heckled you? A lot of times on like YouTube videos, I seen like different guys, they'll come up and just start heckling the comedian. Is that something, number one, is it something that happens a lot to you? Number one. And number two, could you give us maybe a story about an experience that's memorable to you about someone heckling you? Maybe a good like fire back or something like that?
It's not like it doesn't happen a lot, but it does happen. But I remember somebody, when I was doing comedy in between strippers when I started, which is a weird place to do stand up, and somebody yelled from the back, "You just made my soft." And I was like, that's probably the best heckle ever, dude. I'm like, I don't want. Yeah, it was just like.
And he's in the strip club
And I was
too.
like, yeah. I go, well, my set is done. But yeah, it's like, but the other times, yeah, you get like, I think a lot of times people see like on TV or on TikTok and they go, oh yeah, I could just talk to the comedian, and then they just like, and I truly believe people don't sometimes value the art form of stand-up, like, because stand-up is like, it's not like I'm playing the violin, like, because everybody, and I say this all the time, I think everybody has somebody in their group that goes, yo, I think I'm funny.
Yeah.
So they don't think stand-up is like there's a science, or they just go, oh, okay, I'm funny at work, bro. I could do the same thing. And I think that's when people start yelling shit at comedians, because they don't take it serious. They go, I'm funny. My boys tell me I'm funny all the time. But I go, but you don't have timing on stage. You might have timing in real life, but on stage, it's different. Nerves, lights.
I have a worse experience because of that. Because I went to we met a Somali comedian, you know what I mean? And he was like, come to my show in LA. And then basically it was an open mic. And then
Oh, no.
Me and my brother went. We sat in the back, and it was an open mic for everybody. And that's when I realized the level, the people are so bad.
Yeah.
Everybody's bombing. Like one person's like, woo, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
One person's being super supportive and saying, woo, you know what I mean? Every time.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
like, "Yo,
bad.
stop."
Yeah, but it's like that's an open mic is just a place where you're starting.
try
So
Yeah, exactly. And then what happened was that the Somali guy came. He was not bad. He was doing pretty good. You know what I mean? Compared to everybody else, he was amazing. You know what I mean? And then me and my brother were like, then he said, okay, I'm done. He dabbed us up. Let's go, right? And the guy was doing so bad that me and my brother were walking. As we were walking out, the guy looked at us. He's like, I'm sorry, bro, if I'm so bad. Like, the place was he said, I'm so sorry, bro, I'm so bad. And you know what I mean? That's what just goes to show, like, this stuff is not easy.
No.
I'll be honest with you. I think I was better than that guy, personally.
yeah. I mean, I that guy apologized to you guys, which I respect big time.
We appreciate, like, for example, your art form, you know what I mean?
Absolutely,
And,
bro.
for sure we'll watch and we'll tell audience, I've watched Dave live. He's pretty funny, you know what I mean? And especially on Ramy as well. If you guys didn't watch that, check that out. We appreciate you coming all the way here. It was
Absolutely.
late night.
Thank you so
You know
much.
what I mean? You know, a lot of things happened. You just came off your show. We really appreciate you coming.
Oh, of course.
You
I
know
do.
what mean?
Yeah.
We hope you come a lot back into
I
Ottawa.
will.
And, you know, just thank you guys for watching. And thank you guys for
Thank
having
you. Oh,
Dave,
thank you
know
guys,
what I mean?
honestly.
Thank you.
And you're watching 2.5 Mollies. Thank you very much.